Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Silverstone. Now, this is a home track for me and one that I know rather well, to say the least. I live probably within about 45 minutes of Silverstone, just a trip down the M1 for me in Northamptonshire. So a track I've been to numerous times and seen some really good racing at. And hopefully tonight we're going to have some good racing from the American GTE Series, sponsored by RacingSimRigs. And Silverstone's just such an iconic track for me, as they all are. I think all the tracks on this calendar are iconic, but Silverstone just kind of really, I don't know, hits a bit of a chord with me, and I really enjoy, not only do I enjoy racing around it, but also tonight I'm going to enjoy commentating on these guys racing around it. So as we can see today, which depending on which part of the world you're in, these guys have just gone out for qualifying, and it is early in the morning, just to replicate what happens in real world. A lot of the time, qualify in the morning, you go racing in the afternoon. So these guys out there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can see that's the track map there, 19 degrees Celsius, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm joined as ever by Casey Metzger.
Hello, Harry. And
hello.
I want to say I do agree with you. I think Silverstone does have a lot of history, and it is a very iconic track. But, for me, the new layout, I say new, but it's probably about 10 or 12 years old by now. I don't know. I just can't get my hands around it, man. It's tough.
It's a great track. I think there's just some sections of it. And again, I've got to be honest with you, when we went to the new Silverstone a few years ago, I got to be honest with you, I think I wasn't that overly impressed by it. But the more I raced around it, it's got all the good bits of the old Silverstone on it. It's just a little bit different with the complex and stuff. But all the bits of Silverstone are there that I want to see. You've got Maggotts and Beckett's, you've got the complex, you've got Stowe, you've got all these great corner names and corners that are out there. And I just think it's a good track for racing. It's big, it's wide, it's flat. It pushes a car. I think it pushes a car really hard. It's all, I find mechanical aero grip is right on the limit here. There's no cambered corners to hold your car into place. It's just a completely flat track with some serious sort of, pushing the tyres to the maximum limit. You can go with a high downforce setup that pushes your car into the ground, works the tyres hard, or you go the other way because Silverstone's got the hanger straight, which is that massive long straight and quite a few good chunks of straight. You can then drop that down, compromise your corner speed, but try and build it up in the straights. I think it's one of those tracks that just has a big balance of it for me. And I just think these cars really suit going around Silverstone. They just suit this track. They feel good around here, and hopefully tonight we're going to see some really good racing. We've got the AMs out there qualifying right now, as we can see our sole Ford at the minute, I believe this evening, which is Eric Kalaga, just going into the Maggotts and Beckett's complex. So this is a left-hander flick right on the brakes with a left-hander, and then you're always balancing the understeer of the car into that final bit there. Try not to get any sort of off-track or slow-down penalty on the final right-hander before you push it left and onto the hanger straight. And this is that straight I was talking about. Probably, again, that view there that you're seeing is one of the most iconic sort of images in motor racing. And they come up into a right-hander here as they drop down into a very slow-speed complex. And again, this is sort of first gear. Cars always wanting to break away from under you. Rear will be moving around. and just a tricky thing to put the power down. And not only that, to make it even worse, you've got these dirty, whacking great sausage curbs, which are race enders. If you hit them, they just destroy the front of the car and could cause all manner of damage. So, and you can see him going into what would be the old turn 1 there at Silver, or the new turn 1. Yes, it's the new turn 1. Sorry, not the old turn 1. The old turn 1's around the other side, and this is the complex. So it's a slow speed section into a left-hander. Now this left-hander here is always almost a little bit blind for the line you have to take in, and then on the power as they come out into what he's coming into now was always the old last turn sort of section. And I've seen some great overtaking moves around here when things way back before we had this new configuration of Silverstone. So yeah, Casey, not a fan of new Silverstone then?
I don't know. I like the older one. I was always a fan of that one. I will say I am getting better around here. You know, it does for me. It's more of an acquired taste. But I think, you know, there's a lot of comparisons to be drawn to a place like Sebring, between here and Sebring. They're both, you know, really flat. You know, both. Obviously, Silverstone's been repaved fairly recently, so it's really smooth. It doesn't have all the bumps that you find in Sebring.
It's chalk and cheese in regards as I get what you're saying with the sort of corners. You know, it's very flat. It's a good mix of high and slow speed corners. But the big difference is this is as smooth as a baby's bottom, and Sebring is as lumpy as
it'll knock your teeth out.
Lumpy as a teenager's acne face compared to what this place is. So I think, I get what you're saying. I think they have similarities in regards to what they do, but I just like Silverstone. It's not my home track. Donington Park's my home track, but Silverstone's probably my second nearest home track, if you will. Yep. And as we can see here, James Pearce hasn't actually, he has set a time, but unlike what we've seen in previous times, he's not the quickest. Maybe him and that Corvette just aren't quite clicking together around here. Let's see what sort of time he does as he crosses the line. I take everything back, and he's gone and smashed it out of the park. 2/10 quicker than P2 in that Corvette, so he's really managed to get something hooked up with that Corvette in this qualifying session. Practice, he was saying to me, was a little bit tricky. We've got James Nunn returning back to the championship. Obviously had a couple of weeks away due to work, and let's see what sort of time he can put in as he crosses the line. Does he go any quicker? 57.067, so slight improvement, but not enough. Tom Fisher, let's see what Tom Fisher can do as he comes into the right-hander, into the last final complex. No,
pulls
he's not.
Straight into the pits.
Yeah, pulls it into the pits, so that's not happening there for him, unfortunately. And that, I believe, is just about all of the AMs qualified. So let's put a call on the radio and get the pros on. Can I have all pros to pit lane now, please? All pros into pit lane now. And once with that call, we can see pros start to head out. It's Taylor Lane, firstly forward livery. Got Dan Tenorio returning Jeff Applegrim, which is great to see Jeff back as he pulls the car out to the end of pit lane.
Yeah, I think one of the things I wanted to mention, though, about one of the reasons why I think this place is so tricky, though, is there's a couple of sections of the track where you just got to use a lot of finesse. And then there's other places like I think it's Maggots and Beckett's. You just absolutely send the car into that corner as hard and deep as you can, you know, to the point where the car is not understeering. But it's I think it's a good mix. So,
and I agree. I really do agree. I think it's just a good balance of different sort of corners, and you know, it's got its own charm. Some people say it's a bit soulless Silverstone. Some people don't like it, but I think for racing, the racing that Silverstone can produce, big, wide open track, I think that has its charm in itself. You know, a lot of tracks that we see are kind of single lane tracks almost, where you follow one guy. You know, it's very difficult to get a move on just for the nature of some of the corners. I mean, there's a track over here called Alton Park, for instance. I know Alton Park. I mean, it's not got a single place really where you can go, right, well, that's where I'm going to make the overtake, because every bit of the track is just a single file track. A bit like, some of the street circuits, Long Beach, for instance, them sort of places there. Yes, they're good and they've got their own charisma, their own charm, if you will. But I just don't think tracks like that ever really bring out the best of racing. Here, you can get 3 or 4 cars wide on Silverstone in some parts with no problems whatsoever. And that, I think, has its charm for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, we've got the pros out now going around, and let's just sort of see how they get on. And obviously, Kevin Brooks is going to be your man to watch. And let's see what sort of time Kevin do now. In practice, Kevin Brooks pulled in a 54.5. So we'll have a look and see what sort of time Kevin can do. Obviously, in the qualifying session. And he comes down into Copse Corner. Very fast right-handed. No, apologies, it's not Copse Corner. I'm getting it all wrong. Copse is on the other side of the track, Harry. Come on. I mean, you wouldn't think I live 45 minutes away from here and probably been here more times than I can remember, but anyway. And this is the new section of the track. Pulls the car out and heads down. And I'm just working out, is there any changes to his car? I'm just looking at it. I'm trying to work out, has there been any changes, or am I just going mad?
Not that I can see, at least not visually. I don't think they've made any visual changes to the Corvette.
No, just me. I'm going crazy. Oh, yellow wing mirrors. Was that always on his car?
I think he's had that, yeah. Talking about the side mirrors and the side of the wing there?
Yeah, I don't know if he's always had that. It might be just me going mad. Yeah, I think he has always had that. I'm just going a bit crazy. But anyway, it's fine. Just had end of RSR World Series, which is our GT3 league, ended this evening. So just been trying to reconcile some points. So I've got a brain full of spreadsheets and numbers. It's never a nice thing to do. Let me see. Kevin coming down the hanger straight and into Stowe, which is a rise up into a right-hander, and right where the apex is sort of the crest of that hill. This is probably the biggest sort of undulation or gradual change you have in the whole track. And here we go as he comes.
Those sausage curves going through there.
He's very close to them. You hit one of those, it is lap time over. It comes out of club corner.
Oh man!
And that's a good lap from him. Yeah, that's what we expected to see. He goes 5/10, half a second quicker than James Pearce. Taylor Lane is not far off.
He's not far off though. No, 154.6.
And neither's James, neither's Sean. They're all coming in now. I mean, you see there's less than 1/10 of a second splitting between second and 4th place in the pro field. Cracking times they're putting in there. Dan Sonorio puts in a 54.8. And let's see if anyone's got anything for Kevin. But I'm thinking if Sean is able to run that sort of time, I mean, he might be able to do a little bit more. Who knows? It's a 30-minute race. We've got 2 30-minute races for you tonight. There we are on board the BMW of James Armstrong. Let's see what James can do. I'm just conscious
of him to be a little bit squirrely coming out of that corner there.
Yeah, I was just watching him on my side of things, just seeing what was going on. He did get a little bit out of shape. Sean Campbell got it very out of shape behind him. And here we go into Copse Corner. This is Copse Corner, Harry, not the other one. And they go into, I think, one of the more this is my favourite section of possibly any track, let alone just here, is Maggots and Beckett's. And this is just such a fast sweeping section of track, and it is all about nailing your line through here and not carrying too much speed. And you're constantly fighting more understeer than oversteer through there, trying to get the front of the car really hooked up onto the tarmac. Now hanging straight as he comes into Stowe. I'm thinking, depending on what Kevin can do as he crosses the line, Kevin's just about to come across the line to finish his second lap. And Kevin goes slower on that one. I think these BMWs might have something for him. Let's see with James.
As he comes out of the last corner here.
Yeah, club corner.
4:53.
It's not enough. Not enough. And Sean. Sean goes quicker. Sean pulls in a 54.3, but still not quite enough. Let's see what Jeff can do in the Porsche. Does he jump up at all?
Yeah, Jeff. I think Jeff's struggling with that thing tonight.
Not having the best of times with that one, is he? I don't think. I think that's everything for qualifying. Let's just have a look. Jeff's out there, just running round. Okay, guys, that's qualifying. So we will. Jeff's going out there, just doing his thing. He's running. He's fine to do that. So, Casey, we'll do the honors.
All right. So Kevin Brooks, he is the overall pole winner, pole sitter and pro with a 154.29. Sean Campbell second, right on his tail with a 154.311. I think that's the closest we've seen anybody to Kevin all season. James Armstrong, third quickest with a 154.5. Derek Ekmanis, fourth with a 154.57. Taylor Lane, fifth, a 154.63. Mac Miller, 154.68. James Pierce, he will be your pole sitter in AM with a 154.788. Dan Tenorio, 154.83. James Costa, not too far behind James Pierce, 154.985. Jeff Appelgren, uncharacteristically off the pace here for 155.074. Blake Scott, a 155.296. Brent Bavada, 155.332. Eric Kalaga with a 155.71. Mark Scott, 155.9. Michael Kalaga with a 156.04. Errol Yuriksoy with a 156.06. James Nunn with a 157.06. Tom Fisher with a 158.17. And he is the last to make qualifying time. Kyle Smith, for whatever reason, did not get to set a time qualifying.
Well, there you have it. Those are your standings as we go into race one. And while we are just sorting the grid out for race one, we're going to take a short break and we'll just probably get these things sorted. And we'll be back to bring you live action from race one of the American GT Series. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are just waiting for the session to go live, and it has just gone up. So there we go. We are going to be joining in right now. So just while we're waiting for that, Casey, there was some. I think we spoke about it briefly last week, but I watched some more videos of a certain race on Bristol dirt, and I read somewhere that these left turners were testing something on, was it wet tyres on Martinsville?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that during last week's race. Yeah.
Oh, okay, you did, okay.
Yeah, so that's actually the first time they've even tested the rain tires on an oval short track before, so I got my fingers crossed that either they get to use them this weekend if they decide to, or that they'll decide to go ahead and use them at some point in the near future. I mean, because that's, oh man, the level of madness that would create, just mind-boggling. So I'm all for it. I mentioned last week that I'm really liking a lot of the changes that NASCAR is doing, and this is definitely one of them. This is a big step in the right direction, I think, for them to create some more excitement, to bring some more
interest,
variable. Yeah, it's a whole nother variable that these guys haven't really had to deal with. So I say, hey, throw it at them.
Well, I always used to be really, and I do mean really, into NASCAR racing, and I used to love it back in sort of late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, the golden age.
And I just used to remember, Labonte's Interstate Batteries car, Exide car, 99, the obviously Jeff Gordon's DuPont, goes, Dale Earnhardt's, all them sort of names. And that to me was just the golden era of NASCAR, and I absolutely loved it. And I still watch videos now. In fact, the other day I was sat here doing something completely not important, and I ended up it cropped up on my Facebook thing that you scroll through, and someone had put on there the full, I think it was like a 1998 or 97 full Daytona 500.
Oh wow.
And I just sat and watched it, and you know what? I wasn't bored for a second. I mean, the thing is, I see it back then that there was a lot more. I don't know. Do you think the new car that NASCAR is going to bring out is going to be more back in line with what we had, or do you think it's going to be more of what we've got at the minute?
Well, from the rumblings that I've been hearing, just from following casually, some of the drivers that have tested it and some of the things that they've been saying is that the car is actually pretty difficult to drive. So it's not going to be, in theory, with what they've been testing, it's not going to be hold it wide open for 500 miles. Every track's going to be like Daytona, Talladega. Now, I'm hoping that that's going to be the case because, quite honestly, I don't want to see that style of racing every week. So, and I know there's a lot of guys, particularly one in particular, that I'm not going to name names, but he kind of wants that, and he knows who he is, listening or not. But I want to see the race being put back in the driver's hands. Make the cars challenging to drive. Let the cream rise to the top, as it used to do back in the early 2000s, the late 90s. Those cars were not easy to drive. So, and I think that's part of what made the Cup Series so fun to watch back in the day. Earnhardt, Gordon, Wallace, Labonte, they all had to wheel the cars.
Yeah.
So I say put it back in the driver's hands and let them sort it out.
No, I agree with that. I think that's one thing. And I mean, I kind of want to re-love NASCAR again, and I find it very difficult to do with sort of the package that they've got at the minute. And that's it's not an iRacing thing. That is just, I think that's how it is real world. And I don't know. I kind of think that they've kind of, I don't know, the racing's just becoming softer and softer.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, and I just
when I joined iRacing, right, I was pretty much strictly just an oval guy, right? That's pretty much all I did. And I had it in my head that, I knew I was pretty decent. So I was going to spend the time, get better, and try and work my way up to what's now the Coke Series. That was my goal coming to iRacing. And then I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, along comes whatever the hell this car is that we have now. And
Gen 5 or Gen 4? I don't know.
Yeah, the 550 package with all kinds of downforce. And it just completely killed my love for, the 1.5 miles, the 2 mile tracks, anything over 1.5 miles, really. Except for Daytona and Talladega, where you expect that type of racing. So
I think the biggest thing is, we're not too far off of going racing here at Silverstone, but one of the biggest things that I think sort of damages racing is dirty air, because it stops cars. And you get it in sports car racing, you get it in open wheel racing, you get it in Formula One, you get it in NASCAR as well, where it's the air that's created. It's the turbulent air off of the back of another car that's created, then disrupts that car behind. The air doesn't get onto the nose near it as much as it should do. And it stops cars catching other cars for overtakes. And that is one thing I think in motorsport in general, that I think as time's progressed and downforce has gotten more and more in cars, more and more in racing, the dirty air has kind of almost killed racing. And for me, I just think it needs to stop. You see Sean Campbell on screen just borderline losing it there, but it's the one thing that I think in motorsport they need to dial back and take that away, so that cars can catch each other and catch and race each other, really, which is probably what's damaging NASCAR. I wouldn't necessarily say it's engine package as such. I think it's more aero package.
It's the aero dependence that the cars have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and I would absolutely love to see them dial the horsepower back up. Take some of that downforce away that the cars rely on now.
Yeah.
And make them a handful. Make the drivers work. That's what they're paid to do. They don't get paid to just sit there and go on a Sunday drive. They're supposed to be the best stock car drivers in the world. Let them prove it.
Well, talking about moving cars around, track temp right now out there is 33 degrees Celsius, and your money, I think that's
91.
91. So 91 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Geez, if it was 91 degrees Celsius, you'd be frying eggs on it.
Yeah, no.
So 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a pretty toasty track. And seeing a couple of guys out there just in this practice session or this warm-up session before we go into a race, having the cars really shift around underneath, and this is going to be very different to the qualifying session that we're just out in. These guys are going to be needing to dial some wing in and kind of tweak their setups a little bit, maybe going forward into this race. And we are just finishing short as James Armstrong goes for another half spin there in front of Jeff Applegreen. But we do go over into race session.
Just watching Sean Campbell there coming out of the last corner right before session ended their practice. He got really out of shape. So yeah, these guys they're gonna have a handful.
Very much so. Very much so. We can see there is the grid lining up, and like I said, good mix of cars. We've got some Beamers, we've got some Porsches, we've got some Corvettes, a couple of Ferraris, and back there on his own is our sole oval ring Ford representative of Eric Kalaga. Maybe the Ford's fairly strong. I mean, good at qualifying from Eric, to be fair. But there you go. We pull away with the Porsche pace car, and we're going to see how these guys get on as we take into the start zone. And we see the pros just coming around as the Porsche pace car peels off. And Kevin Brooks is going to bring them into the start zone now. It's starters orders. They stay at pacing speed until they get out of the final right-hander. And they are all stacked up. James Armstrong right on the back of him. And we go green. We have a green flag. James gets very close to the back of Kevin Brooks there. That is a green flag as they head down into turn one. And they are side by side at the back, get themselves sorted. We've got Derek McManus running ever so wide, nearly hitting Mac Miller. And Jeff Applegreen is just behind watching that unfold. And the pro cars managed to get themselves through the first section here fairly cleanly into the left-hander. We've got to move. Jeff Applegreen looking at the inside of Mac Miller at the back. Dan Tenorio has pulled off the track. Now, Dan was saying he was having some problems with his throttle. But that, to me, looks more like his brake. No, it's not. He's just not got any drive there at all. Hardware failure or something of that sort from Dan Tenorio, which is a big shame. Let's have a look at the AMs, see what's going on back there. Have we got any movers, anything happening? AMs have just crossed the line. That's a replay of the
Fisher, he's making up some spots fairly quickly here.
We've got a replay of the start of the AMs. Tom Fisher looking at the inside of Errol in that Ferrari.
Picked off a couple of spots just in the first section of the track.
As they come through left field here, heading down into Woodcote Corner, the Anfield, Errol struggling with front end grip of that Ferrari as it pushes out wide, gets the power down as they come down into Woodcote Corner. And a big gap was opened up between him and James Fisher, but Ferrari is straight line speed. So maybe as he goes down here through Maggots and Beckett's onto the hanger straight, he might be able to catch some of this back. But with Tom Fisher on board, looking forward at the back of Mark Scott's Porsche into Maggots and Beckett's left, flick right, manage the understeer back into the left-hander, keep the car balanced onto the right. Tom loses time
Sean
there.
Campbell looking to make a move on Kevin Brooks here for the lead.
Very much
side by side, can't get it done, but he definitely had a run there.
Yeah, and then that brings James Armstrong into the fray in that other BMW. So it is Corvette, Beamer, followed by Porsche, followed by Porsche, followed by Porsche. Jeff Applegreen has managed to get around Mac Miller. Mac's all over the back of Jeff in the background of this. But let's
Taylor
stick with
Lane
these.
trying to send it in on James Armstrong, side by side.
Gets to the inside of James. James then takes the left-hander, pushes Taylor out wide.
No. Not quite able to do the over-under there on the exit of that corner.
Taylor Lane all over the back of James Armstrong now as they come into the old final lap or final position complex here, left and then right of Luffield. Taylor's sticking the Porsche on the outside, tries to get the grunt off the corner, can't do so. James tucks in front of him. So he will cut corner, completely flat right-hander. Take as much curb on that right-hand side as you want, but if you get ever so close to that wall, you will get a slowdown. So these guys don't want to do that. And this is the old turn one of Copse Corner now. on the power into Magnussen Beckett's again. Sean sticking with Kevin. And then we've got this battle here for third place between James and Taylor. James taking a later... Taylor taking a later apex. James clips the grass on the exit. Just kicks him a bit of dirt, but that gives Taylor the run. Is he going to go to the outside here? I think he might as they come into Cop's corner. He makes the move. He goes to the left-hand side. Has he got anything for him? He goes round the outside, outbroke himself slightly. James comes back to him, and they're 2 by 2.
What a move by Taylor Lane around the outside there.
Gets the job done, mate. That's a sterling move. And Sean Campbell and Kevin Brooks are having a good little battle up here through the final corner. Sean has to run very wide. Probably picked up an off track there. That's another move around the outside from Sean Campbell. Gets the move done on Kevin Brooks. Good move from Sean. Hard on the brakes, and Taylor's closing up on the back of Kevin. Kevin's not having a good time out there right now. He's got this hot track is not suiting his car well. Taylor has a little bit of a squirm on the exit there.
One thing I will say, and I do know from experience driving that C8, is on cold tires, that thing can be more than a handful. So if he can just stick close to Sean here, the BMW kind of has a tendency to burn the tires off over the course of a run. So just stick to the back of him, and he'll get back by.
Here we go, Taylor Lane all over the back of Kevin Brooks. So it's Sean Campbell, Kevin Brooks, Taylor Lane, and then there's James Armstrong. And you know who's caught up with this, don't you? While these guys have been to and fro-ing, Jeff Applegreen has been able to get sort of within, I'd say, about a second of James Armstrong. And what's Jeff going to have to say about all this? Derek McManus and Matt Miller still not far behind. We could have all the pros smacked up together here.
What a battle we got going on here in pro.
Yeah, this is all the cars. This is the whole pro field, all bunched up together, covered by 2.5 seconds roughly. And this is where sort of draft is going to come into play. These guys are all getting drafted off each other. James Armstrong looking to the inside, gets the move done. Taylor comes back to the inside, can't get anything there. Hard on the brakes into the left-hander. Gets ever so close there. Nearly gets a 4X. Nearly contact between the two. There is literally... is no room between the two of them there. And James hits that sausage curb slightly, pushes him out wide. Let's see what happens as they come into turn one.
Taylor having connection issues.
Come on,
Taylor. Come on.
Come on. Quality's dropping. Ping's rising. That's never good. Is he going to reappear?
Oh, no.
Oh, dear. Come
on, Taylor.
Oh, no. Quality's dropping still. Going to need a small miracle to get him back out there. Nah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, what a shame. Are you kidding me?
No, that's it. I think that's it. I think he's in the land of the unconnected right now. But let's have a look at what's going on in AM, because we've got James Costa, Blake Scott, and Brent Bravado all stacked up together. Blake Scott in that orange Porsche.
Oh, and there you go. Taylor Lane just fell through.
He did. That's a big shame there, because that was shaping up to be a great race. Taylor Lane.
I tell you, if there's one guy who needs an award,
oh man,
toughest luck this season.
I'm going to say this. I found a very amusing video earlier, and I had to share it. And I said, if this was Taylor Lane's luck, it's a man getting a pizza out of the oven. Long story short, the oven ends up upside down with the man pretty much crushed by the oven. I said, that is basically Taylor Lane's iRacing career. And it's just, a simple mundane thing of getting a pizza out of an oven, ends up with the oven on its side and the man on the floor, and the pizza's obviously nowhere to be seen. That is Taylor Lane's iRacing so far. The man has no luck. In fact, if I was going to ring people out my phone book to get some lottery numbers out of, I'd probably ring, I don't know, Apple support before I rang Taylor Lane. I mean, the man has just no luck whatsoever. So, but let's get back to the racing here. We can see out the windscreen of Blake Scott's car. What you can't see out the windscreen of Blake Scott's car is just how close Brent Bravado was. Brent Bravada catches that sausage curb on the exit massively and drops back quite a bit there. So you can see now we've got the back end shot. Brent got it all wrong out the exit. He's also ran a little bit wide there. You can see there he just caught stuff on the exit. But now, if we look,
an eye on the Battle for Pro up here while you're doing all that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I've just gone back to the Battle for Pro, and we're looking at James Armstrong right on the back of Kevin Brooks, and I think we're not going to be too far away from a move here. If James can sort the Maggots and Beckett's complex out, and obviously Cops as he comes into here, is he going to be able to put some sort of move on Kevin? Let's see. Into Cops' corner. Kevin runs wide. Is this going to give James a chance? No, it's not. Kevin managed to gather it back up on the exit of the corner into Maggots and Beckett's. Now, just stick with this. If we can get James, or if James can get a good run out of the final corner, he might be in with something here. He gets it good. He's dropped back a little bit, but let's see here. We're onto the hanger straight. Now, this is where draft is going to play into effect. They're ducking, they're weaving, they're trying to break the draft. James is having none of it. Kevin looks to the inside. James looks to the inside. It could be 3 wide. Oh, hold your breath. Let's see what happens. Contact. No, it gets it sorted. That was a... oh, God.
I tell you what, I think this is the hardest Kevin Brooks has had to work thus far in race 1 this season.
Kevin's had it handed to him on a plate, most of them. It's not happening this time. We've got Sean Campbell and James Armstrong giving him something to think about, and Jeff Applegreen the whole time is just sitting back there a second behind, waiting for the foul ups to happen, which if they carry on racing like that, they inevitably will happen. Bit of damage on the back of Jeff Applegreen's Porsche. Not a lot, just a bit creased up on the right-hand side near the tail light.
Did not see where he got that.
No, I'm not too sure either. But, we're still... Mac Miller's still, close to him. Derek McManus is still close to him. So, pretty much all the pros covered by still about 2.5 seconds. No one's getting away from anyone up in this pro field so far. James Pierce pulled a sort of 2-second gap over James Costa. Blake Scott, the Brent Bravada, they're all pretty much strung out throughout the course of the Anfield. Dan Tenorio has been able to get himself back going again. 1 minute and 50 seconds down. I think his race is pretty much resound to finishing, unfortunately, in second to last place to obviously Taylor Lane, who had his connection issues. But let's jump back to this into Maggots and Beckett's. Flick left, flick right. Hold the understeer. Back to a left-hander. Jeff is caught right up to this. That Porsche
Kevin gets such a good run through there.
The Porsche, Jeff has just been able to really close the gap up now, just over a second. But of course, they head on to the big long hanger straight. James looks once more to the inside of Kevin Brooks. What's going to happen here? Into the inside, and Kevin, I don't think has got anything for him. I think that might be job done. He can't even get to the outside. Yeah, that's it. It's job done. Kevin Brooks drops down to third, breaks late, clips the back of James. Is James going to short? No, he doesn't.
A little bit of net code there, I think is what that was.
And that's brought Jeff Applegreen right onto the back of Kevin Brooks. Good racing here so far. Another lap completed. We are nearly at the halfway mark in this race, not too far off. Another lap and we'll be there. Jeff getting that Porsche nice and square through here, onto the brakes, into the right-hander. Hugs the curb. Of course, we've got Mac Miller just behind them as well. All the pro cars are literally bunched up together. This is the race we want to see. 2.5 seconds covers the whole pro field so far.
I tell you, I was watching the run through Maggots and Beckett's. Kevin Brooks gets a great run through there, but those BMWs have so much power coming out of the corner.
Very much do.
That's where they're beating them, is down the straightaways.
You might be right there. I think I don't know what the forgive me, I'm a bit ignorant here with GTE top speeds, but for some reason Kevin is not having a good day so far. He's dropped down to third place, and Jeff Applegreen is on the back of Kevin Brooks. I'm sure if Kevin can string Maggots and Beckett's together, he might be able to put a charge onto Kevin. And of course, he's going to bring with him his Porsche friends of Matt Miller and Derek McManus. Maggots and Beckett's flick left, flick right, into the right-hander. on the final corner here. Chapel as they come onto the hanger straight now. Here we go again. Let's see what happens as they all get the draft down here. Are we going to see a move from James for the lead? Is he close enough to Sean? I don't think he is. No, he's not. But Jeff manages. Jeff really gets in that draft and closes right up onto the back of the Corvette there of Kevin. Hard on the brakes. Left-hander. Mac Miller closes up. They are literally, you could throw a blanket over these guys at the minute.
Yep. Yeah, this is some of the best racing we've seen in race 1 all season.
It very much is, and I'm sure Taylor Lane is sat there now twiddling his thumbs, questioning the meaning of life. Because I'm sure he'd quite like to be out there having a go.
Oh, absolutely. He was putting together a great race.
It was looking very good, and he would have had a good shot at this because they didn't leave him. So I think even now, I think this race could be anywhere. Any of these top 6 have got a chance of doing it. We're seeing
Kevin Brooks was flashing there just for a second.
Just for a second, yeah. I do not want to be on the other end of the phone tomorrow when Taylor Lane rings his internet provider. Somebody is getting both barrels. How many times are they going to use? Well, I just work here. It's not me.
Yeah, those calls are fun.
I usually get something free out of them because I complain that much.
Kevin Brooks is not letting James Armstrong get away from him.
No, they're not. As we come onto the hanger straight once again, Kevin Brooks, James Armstrong, Sean Campbell. Now James Armstrong is much closer to Sean, so still can't do anything. Sean takes a wider exit. That brings James up to the back of him. Is James going to make a move? Does he look? Does he? No, he doesn't. Kevin's right on the back here. Jeff not too far away. 2.5 now. If these 3 appear start tussling, that's going to bring Jeff Applegreen into it once again.
Twitchy going through that last corner.
Track temp's quite high. The tyres are going to be worn quite heavily. Silverstone is notoriously hot on tyres just simply because of the flat nature of the track. Some great racing here into the right-hander. Jeff has a little bit of a lock-up. Quick puff of smoke out the right front of Jeff's car. But this is where the Porsche, I think, might have some sort of strength here. But those top 3 just get the run out of the corner. Jeff clips the grass on the left hand as he comes onto the Wellington straight. Nearly gets it all out of shape. That brings Matt up to him ever so slightly. Hard brakes, left-hander. Kevin runs a little bit wide. That's going to compromise his line through the last right-hander here. On the power now, it's slipstream. James has dropped off the back of Sean. Sean's been able to pull a bit of a gap here. And we got Flashy McFlash of Kevin Brooks a little bit there. Blinky McBlinkface. Baggett's and Beckett's. Once again, BMW, Corvette, Porsche. We're sort of getting a little bit strung out now. Let's just look down the order and see what's happening. Well, I say that Derek McManus is on the back of Matt Miller. We might see a move here for the final running spot in Pro. Derek has a look. Doesn't do anything there. You can just see the pole position racing car just looking, but doesn't do anything.
Kevin Brooks closing in ever so slightly on the back of James Armstrong here, putting himself back in contention for second.
James is struggling a little bit, I think. Let's have a look through the AM field and see what's happening. Mark Scott is on the back of Tom Fisher. Can Mark do anything about that? This is for what will be 5th and 6th, I believe, in AM.
Oh. James Armstrong slid into that first right-hander in the chicane just a little bit. Kevin Brooks locked up the tires to stay from hitting them.
Getting some bonus points for reverse entry. Let's see if these two got anything for us so far. Of course, Tom Fisher out there in front, cutting a big hole in the air for Mark Scott. Closing up, he's closing up. Coming into Village. It's the right-hander of Village, and then you've got the loop before they get onto the Wellington Straight. Here we go, left-hander. Mark Scott does take a look. No, not going to work, and that means Tom's going to have a run on the exit of the corner. And pulls the gap back out. Let's get back to this pro battle that we're looking at. James Armstrong on the back of Sean Campbell, been able to catch up quite nicely to him. Kevin Brooks a little bit back off there. So is James going to be able to come in with a shot of taking something before they get into Stowe, which is just after the hanger straight as they come through now. Right-hander, left-hander onto the long straight. But there is a car up ahead there of Dan Tenorio. Lets him go quite nicely. No problems at all. James closing. Has he got anything? No, still too far back.
Yep, as I mentioned before, Kevin got a little bit, he had to really jam on the brakes to keep out of the back of James Armstrong there in the second corner of the lap, and that's really what got him behind. But these two start fighting here, that's going to pull him right into it again.
Very much will. Both BMWs have twitches on the final corner here. Sean gets a little bit out of shape, so does James. Into turn one. Foot left. Racing is very, very good so far. Very, very clean. No issues at all throughout the field. Not seen anything untoward. And we've still got all of the pro guys just split by just under 4 seconds. So gap has been pulled out. So they've got Matt Miller and Derek McManus for 5th and 6th. Then you've got Jeff Applegreen in this little bubble on his own. And then we've got Kevin Brooks. Now, the reverse grid for this race is going to be something else, providing all these guys can make it through. Hopefully Taylor Lane can get his internet plugged back in. I do know where I am currently in the UK. We're having all the new 5G put in, so I was trying to ring some people earlier on today, having absolutely none of it. So maybe it's that's caused it. I don't know. Yeah, into just around Cop's corner there, and now we get Maggots and Beckett. So let's see what they do. Left-hander, then hard on the brakes into the right-hander. Pick back up the throttle, are back on the brakes with a left-hander, and then manage the understeer of the car, always hoping it grips up. Don't run too wide. James is fairly close to Sean, but I don't think he's going to have anything for him. We'll see as they come down, have a run down here. Off the hanger straight into Stowe, hard on the brakes. No, just sticking as they are for the time being. Let's look a little bit back though. That's Jeff Applegreen getting around Kevin Brooks. Something has happened to Kevin Brooks. Is that a slowdown from Village? It is notorious for them. Yeah, it will be.
He's losing another spot.
100% he got a slowdown. He was all over the curbs on Chapel, which is the last left-hander, well, the right-hander, the last part of the Maggots and Beckett's complex, and then it goes left. And on that last right-hander, he got a really chunky slowdown, so he had to let Jeff go. And now he's got Matt Miller and Derek McManus, who'd love to take points off of Kevin Brooks. Are they going to be able to do anything about him, though? Let's see. Something's happened in the Amfield. Been a shift around for second place in Am. Blake Scott gets back around Brent Pavada.
Now, Jeff Applegreen's not far off the back of this fight for the lead here.
Oh, he's not a million miles away, and if these pair start trading paint as they are 2 by 2. Now, James is taking a wide line. He's going to try and get the run. Let's see if he does get the run as they come into Woodcote Corner. Into Woodcote. Has he got enough of a run to put anything on him into Cops? Let's see. Who's going to break later? And then break about the same. Cops Corner.
I think you're a little bit behind here, Harry.
I very much am. And that is the danger of running in replay on a hanger straight now. They are side
Making
by
the move to
side.
the inside, not quite there. Side by side on the exit here. Nope, not quite there yet.
Oh, he goes to the inside. Has he got to move on? Sean gives him the room. James doesn't really go anything for it. Are we going to get an overlap? Last corner, back of the BMW, squirming away under James. You can see him trying to get the power down. He's drifting that thing around the final corner. It's doing him no favours with tyre wear, but that is what
it's bringing into the picture.
That is what Jeff wants to see, because that's helping Jeff out. Kevin's been able to pull a little bit away from Mac and from Derek at Manus.
These two fighting has brought him right on the back of this battle now.
Very much has.
There. How many times did we see this out of Jeff Appelgren last season?
Yeah.
Hanging around, wait until the end, and then making his move. Should just start calling him the closer, kind of like Kevin Harvick.
The closer, like that. Always closing. This is a replay on the screen where they come into the final corner, and you will just see what the steering inputs are of James Armstrong here. You're going to see it's going. That's squeaky bum time, that is. Nagas and Beckett's now definitely not in replay. That's something I'm going to have to keep checking. Thank you for that. But it just seems that James cannot quite get enough of a run onto Sean to do anything about it. Of course, these two here had some great battles. I mean, an amazing battle at Road Atlanta in the RSR World Series, which is our GT3 league that runs. Actually completed and finished earlier on tonight, which is the end of Season 3 for that. And if you want to take part in the RSR World Series Season 4, we are taking registrations. That starts on the 5th of May. Into the last complex. Sean takes a little bit of a wide line. That brings James up to it. But James, watch the curb on the left-hand side. Just touches it. Looked like he was really going to clobber it there. And you know what? I'm running in chase cam of James, and all I can hear is a very screamy Porsche closing up to the back of him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jeff's there. He's just waiting for one of these guys to make a mistake.
I don't even think he's waiting for a mistake. I think he's going to be trying to put a move on them fairly soon. He's right up on the back of James. I thought there was going to be contact there. Both of them clip the curb. It's not going to do their exit of the corners any favours. Jeff, he's closing. Doesn't quite.
That BMW just has so much power coming up out of the corner. So.
It does. It grips down and just goes.
There had to have been another bop, is what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if iRacing put a bop out on GTE again.
They bopped it, but I don't know. I've not read the patch notes from the last update. I know when I jumped on the other day there was updates, so I'll have to have a read through and see if anything has changed. But you know what? We're not too far away from the completion of this race. Has Jeff got anything for these two guys ahead of him? On the brakes, right-hander. Just looking back here, Kevin Brooks in 4th, pulled away from Derek McManus and Matt Miller. So unless something bad happens ahead of him, that's where he's probably going to finish. Well, mind you, he has closed up. He's got that gap back down again. He's having an absolutely storming Maggots and Beckett. He took a massive chunk of time out of them there. 56.5 was his last lap. 56.5 from Jeff. 56.8 from James. 56.6 from Sean. These guys are running pretty much all the same sort of lap times. Let's see what happens here. Now Jeff's
James
got to
Armstrong ran wide. Jeff's right on the back of him. He's going to have a nice run here. Not close enough to do anything yet, though.
Well, James covers the line off slightly, but he's just clobbered one of those sausage curves, so this is going to compromise him a little bit. Coming through the final corner here to complete another lap. Will this be a final lap? No, it will not. I think we're going to get one more go around before we see. Well, it's going to be this lap plus one other. James closes. Oh.
Jeff really locks it up. Drove it deep down into turn 2.
Does indeed. He drove it. He nearly got into the back of him again. Kevin Brooks rubbing his hands at that. That's what he wants to see. Has Jeff got anything else to bring to the table? Or is this going to be a solid podium finish for him? Let's see.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got enough for the BMWs, to be honest.
Never say never. He's looking good. Every lap he's been, sort of improving, bringing his times down. Sean Campbell lights the back of that BMW M8 up out of the corner into Woodcut. And then he's coming down into Copse Corner here for the right-hander for the second to last time. And this is what really sets you up for a good Maggots and Beckett's. Now, Jeff gets a little bit on both of these BMWs through there, just a smidge. You can see the gap coming down. And these high-speed corners, the Porsche, this is where I think it's corner entry that the Porsche has it, and then it's corner exit where the BMW has it. So really quite well balanced. Corvette's still closing up onto the hanger straight for the penultimate time. Going through Stowe into the final complex here. Jeff closes up to the back again. Sort of outbreaks himself ever so slightly, but actually, no, he probably did that perfectly, I say. James's car squirming away on corner exit once again, and so does Sean. Sean really kicks it wide coming out of there. I believe this is your white flag. Yeah, white flag lap now. Lap. So this is the final lap of the race. Have they got anything for each other? Jeff's hard on the brakes.
Makes up a massive amount of ground on there in that complex there.
Really does. That's where that Porsche has its strength.
Yep, it's in the tight technical parts of the track. That's where that Porsche really.
It's corner entry is where he's getting. Yeah. Sort of corner entry to mid corner. Porsche's got it. Corner exit. BMW has it. But let's see. Move through far what was the old turn one, and I can hear a Corvette right up on the back of Jeff. So is Kevin going to be able to bring anything to the table here? Mind you, I think Hanger Straight is going to be a very interesting one if all these guys can get through Copse and Maggots and Beckett's cleanly.
Yeah, remember Kevin gets a really good run through Maggots and Beckett's too, and he's already closed up to the back of Jeff here, about 2.5 car lengths back.
Very much has.
See what Kevin's got for him here.
Let's see what James has got for Sean, because James has caught right up to the back of Sean. If he gets a good exit out here, he might be able to put an attack on into Stowe. Let's have a look. Comes through onto the hanger straight for the final time. Let's see what they've got. He hasn't really got anything. He's closing, but it's not enough. Is James going to try anything? No, he doesn't. Kevin doesn't do anything, and neither does Jeff either. They all stay as they were. It's going to, or are they just renowned to finishing where they are? Let's see. Jeff closes up to the back of James. I don't think there's anything happening here. I think that's how it is. They all try and get the power down. James's car's squirming. So's Jeff's car's squirming. And that is it. You have a new... Well, I think that is his first ever race win in the RSR American Series. Sean Campbell won plenty of races in the RSR World Series. Gets his first race win here. And James Armstrong has... James and
I wonder if there's a little... I wonder if something happened between James Armstrong and Jeff Applegren early in the race, maybe that we missed.
Maybe, but here we go across the field for Am. James Pierce takes another win. James Costa second. Blake Scott finishes third. Brent Bravada fourth. Mark Scott gets around Tom Fisher for fourth and fifth. And Tom Fisher's car is out of fuel. Somebody get out there and give that man a push. I've just said on the radio. James Nunn and Michael Kalaga both having nearly a last lap ding-dong there. But there we have it. And Eric Kalaga comes across the line. Errol comes across the line. And Kyle Smith, I believe, will be your last driver. He will take pole for race 2. Runs wide in the final corner. He picks up probably an off-track gain. He's on 30. There, he's all right. He's fine. There we go. Across the line. Left and right. Ooh. Casey, do us the honours if you would not mind, sir.
Absolutely. All right, so your race winner in pro and overall, that's Sean Campbell, first win of the season for him, so congratulations to him. James Armstrong, not far behind in second, 0.3 off Jeff Appelgren, first podium of the season for him, I do believe. Kevin Brooks, 4th. Derek Ekmanis in 5th. Mac Miller in 6th. And then we have your AM winner, James Pierce. James Costa in 2nd in AM. Blake Scott, 3rd in AM. 4th in AM is Brent Bovada. 5th was Mark Scott. 6th was Thomas Fisher. 7th, James Nunn. 8th, Michael Kalaga. 9th, Eric Kalaga. And 10th in AM, Errol Urksoy. And 11th, Kyle Smith. And Dan Tenorio and Taylor Lane both having trouble early on in pro. They round out the field, 18th and 19th overall.
Well, there you have it. Absolutely fantastic race from race 1. I think we've seen some seriously close, competitive racing there. And we're just going to take a short little break as we get the field all sorted as we go into race 2. And we'll be back bringing you the action of race 2. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be something else. Guys, hello, welcome. We are back, and we are going to be heading into race 2 just to see what these guys can put together and put on a show for us in this one. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see some more fireworks like we did in race 1. Don't forget, guys, this is a reversed grid. These guys are going to be starting in the reverse of where they finished in race 1, and that can only bring good things, right?
Oh man, and you know what? That was a really good race for race 1. So I'm really looking forward to what race 2 brings here. I think that's one of the more exciting race 1s that we've had.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it was just a good race. Silverstone, like I said to you, it brings good racing. You have the big long straight, you got the Hangar straight, you got Wellington straight, and then that brings the cars up close together. And then it just adds for this, things to happen. So, it was good. And, we're going to go into race 2 here. And we're just going to see what sort of stuff that can happen. So, I think it'll be just as tight. I think the AM field is going to be a little bit more spicy because obviously you've got James Pearce behind everybody who's going to be trying to fight through. We had all the AMs finished, so that was nice. And we'll see.
The messages that these guys have put in chat.
Yeah, I was just having to read through them as well about fuel, and yeah. Let's have a little look through here. They're on about fuel and how much they're going to take and stuff.
No, I was talking in the broadcast.
Oh, I was talking in Discord. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, James Armstrong and Kevin Brooks kind of going back and forth a little bit.
There was a Verstappen-Vettel incident that nearly happened there. I mean, that was a few years ago. Well, was it a few years? 2-3 years ago? Where obviously...
I want to say it was even a little more than that now. I want to say it was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Max Verstappen, I think it was Max Verstappen who completely...
Just clobbered Vettel.
Made a complete pig's ear. And
it was under caution as well, wasn't it?
No, I think it was under race conditions. I think it had just started to become a little bit rainy, I want to say. Or the track was quite dark. Again, forgive me, I have very little knowledge of Formula 1. Unfortunately, I know people like Formula 1, and I like Formula 1 right up until about 1981, where everything after that became pretty boring. But that's just me, look, I get it, people love Formula 1, and you know what, if daytime TV on Sunday afternoon really isn't living up to its full expectation, then I might even tune into a Formula 1 race, but it's quite rare.
Yeah.
It was what we were talking about earlier, that whole thing, cars just can't catch each other. I'm all about good racing. That's me. I like, I don't care whether I'm watching a couple of Fiat Unos racing out there. I'd rather watch them racing, swapping, trading paint door to door than the Formula 1 cars. It's just me. It's just the way I am. But I'm a big fan of British touring cars. I literally cannot wait. Nearly swore there. Not going. But yeah, I cannot wait to get myself back on the side of a racetrack with a nice, cold, refreshing beverage, and watch some actual cars do some damage to each other.
Tell you what, I'm excited for you because I've been fortunate enough over the last year, to be able to catch a couple of races in person. It does good for the soul to have that sense of normalcy again. Feeling can't describe.
Well, we haven't quite got that over here yet, but we are 4 days away from where I can walk into a beer garden and order a pint for the first time in nearly 6 months. And I'm planning on doing that a lot. I'm talking a lot. Like I'm talking a serious amount is going to happen very soon. I've even thought about getting a sleeping bag and queuing overnight just to be the first in line. You know, like them weirdos do for like Christmas sales and Boxing Day sales and stuff, where they like queue up outside the shop the night before.
Yeah.
That'd be me at the pub. This is the sleeping bag. Are you open yet? 9:30 in the morning. I make myself sound like I've got some sort of problem. I can assure you I haven't, but you know, I might.
It's
might think
true
I have.
though. I mean, things have been so messed up for so long that it's like I was saying last week. We're all just we want things to get back to normal.
Well, before I do anything, the first thing I'm going to do, actually, which is far more important than having a beer in a pub, I've got to get a haircut because I'm starting to look like a yeti, and that is a problem. You know, it's ridiculous. Hairdressers aren't open. You know, I've been with my partner for 10 years, and you know what? She's fantastic. However, when she offered to cut my hair, I thought, you know what? I'm cool with this. You know, I'm cool with this Tom Hanks and Castaway look I've got going on right now. So, you know, 10 years, don't want to let her cut my hair. There's a line. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Afraid she's gonna try and scalp you.
I should just shave it off, and I won't even know what's going on. And it'll be too late by that point because one zoom of the clippers, and that's it. It's over, isn't it? You can't just even that out. It's zoom, and it's over. So,
Give you a reverse mohawk right down the middle.
It'd just be marine cut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
gone. So
I mean, that's not really a bad look, though.
Oh, it is for me. I wouldn't suit that, but yeah, I don't need that. So hairdressers first, and then the pub, and I'm excited, but nowhere near as I am excited to see what happens here in race 2 today. Of course, we can dream about all that stuff in the future. It's not there yet. This is here. It's happening now. We are 1 minute and 40-ish, 1 minute and 50-ish seconds away from seeing green flag in race 2 at Silverstone. Track I've been looking forward to in the calendar. I mean, if it was me, I'd just run a league of Donington, Silverstone, reverse. You know, Donington, Silverstone, over and over again because they're two of my favourite tracks. But you know, people just get bored.
Yeah, well, you know, I will say there is something to be said for Silverstone though, because we have seen some great racing tonight.
It just promotes good racing. You know, I get. Look, I've said it before. I get that for some people it might not be the most appealing track on the calendar. I get that, but it always makes what I think is some of the best racing that you can see.
Yeah.
Two seconds. I just had to reply to a question there in the chat. There we go. As we get ready now, we are not far away. We are not far away at all. We are 30 seconds away from the start of this race. Sort of itching to get this one started because I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, reverse grid. And, you know, as we've always seen in the past, race 2's always been the more spicy race, you know, of the two.
Very much has.
But one thing that we did not see in race 1, we didn't see a whole lot of parity, you know, in the pace of, you know, especially in the pro class. So I'm wondering what this is going to do, you know, to the guys that finish up front, if they're actually going to be able to work their way through. You know, because typically the guys.
I think they will. I think they will.
They will, but it's going to be a lot harder though. It's not going to be a walk in the park like it typically is for them. They're going to have to work here.
Oh, let's give them the little pep talk, get them all fired up. In other words, I've told them not to be idiots. Here we go. We can see on track you have track temperature 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius. So a little bit cooler than it was in the last race. And that's going to help these guys out in saving tyres and just making things a little bit more smoother, I'd say. And she's nice and sunny still out there. It is 5 o'clock in sim. And a little bit, like I said, a little bit cooler. Should be able to make the tyres stick a little bit better. We shall see. Dan Tenorio is your pole sitter for Pro.
Should be Taylor Lane right next, I do believe.
Taylor Lane was unfortunately more than that. Unfortunately, Taylor Lane, I don't think. Taylor Lane's back in it. Thank God for that. So, as I drop my mouse. So we shall see how Taylor Lane gets on, because
I forgot about that rule there. Oh, Tenorio's pulling into the pits. What's going on here?
fuel, it's his throttle again. But let's see what happens on the grid. I'll clear any black flags, guys. Just go. So here we go. As they take the green flag. Do we have a green? They're under starters' orders. We have a green flag. They are away. Very much away. There's nearly contact there between James Armstrong and Kevin Brooks. As they go into turn one, Sean Campbell gets the nose cut off him there by Kevin Brooks.
Oh, James Armstrong runs way wide. Taylor Lane gets by him
ever so wide there. So here we go. Let's see. Lap one. What's happening with the hours? Side by side. Matt Miller and Jeff Applegren. Jeff's on the right. Matt's on the left. You get through there all okay. They are still side by side. Kevin Brooks and Sean Campbell looking to capitalise on this. Do not put it three wide, guys. Oh, it's 2 by 2. So we've got a group of 4 cars here smack in the middle that are 2 wide. Still 2 wide as they're coming to the right-hander. Jeff manages to pull away. And Matt Miller manages to pull away. So it's just Sean and Kevin that kept that side by side. Let's have a quick look through the AM field and see what's going on. I think they're all okay. Oh no, we've got Michael Kalaga is in the barrier. He's out of the race. What happened there? Oh, Mark Scott was off the track and then comes back on. Straight into the side of Tom Fisher, who then swipes Michael Kalaga out of the race.
Errol. Well, Errol was in the barrier as well.
Was indeed, but this is, oh, look at that, and that is a massive impact there. That BMW is not going anywhere. Michael Kalaga's car is driving like a crab. That's over, and that is gutting. That is absolutely devastating for him, because he is currently sitting top of the tree in the AM field.
In the span of about half a mile, we just took out 3 cars in the M class there with Errol Eriksoy,
Yeah,
Michael Kalaga, and Thomas Fisher. Wow.
Yeah. But something's happened to Kevin Brooks, because we've got Kevin Brooks at the back of the pro field. So something's happened there. He's right down the order. Behind Taylor Lane. Taylor Lane has to go avoiding. Takes it too wide. Brings the car back on the track safely. Don't lose it. We're on re-entering. What happened to Kevin Brooks? Have we got anything on that? Taylor Lane is getting himself all squirmy. What's going on?
He had a slowdown. He had to have had a slowdown.
What, Kevin again?
Yep, he went way wide on the exit of Stowe.
He did indeed. He did indeed.
He would have had a slowdown, and then that's what allowed these guys to get back. He got a little bit of a shoulder check from James Armstrong.
Oh!
That's what sent him wide.
Well, that didn't help either. Okay. Well, that probably would have given him a slowdown again, because that put him onto that part of the track. Well, it's all to play for. I'd say Kevin's got to get his head down here and push him. Derek McManus is your current leader out the front. So we look back, it's Derek, it's Jeff Applegreen, and Jeff's going to want to try and get past Derek and potentially pull the lead out. Matt Miller's in 3rd, Sean Campbell 4th, James Armstrong 5th. Kevin Brooks and Taylor Lane is still out there having a go.
And all this is playing into Jeff Applegren's hands. He's closing in on the back of Derek Ekmanis
He
here.
looks to the outside. Can he pull anything on it? He's going to try and get a cut in on the exit of the corner, not to run too wide because that compromises your line. Doesn't do any favours for you. Let's see what happens. He's got him clear. He did it on the outside. Did it on the outside. Derek's all over the back of him, trying to get a spot back. Has he got anything for him? I don't think he has.
Nope. And Sean Campbell making a move on Mac Miller. He gets around cleanly there.
Okay, so it's shaping up to be a little bit like race one. James Armstrong on the back of Mac Miller. Can he pull anything here? Flick it into the right hander, now into the left. Sean takes the car out slightly wider.
Sean Campbell, Mac Miller, and James Armstrong nose to tail right now.
They are
spread out down the straightaway, but see that Porsche just driving in so much deeper in the corner.
Well, Mac Miller
takes too deep right there.
Yeah, Mac Miller has to take a slightly wider line, but he'll have a good exit here as they come into Woodcut. Let's see. I'm just seeing through the Anfield what's going on there. I mean, cars are really close up at Anfield. James Pearce damage to his car coming through on James Nunn and Eric Kalaga up ahead. Both the twisted cars have a bit of damage on them, I think. Well, James Pearce's definitely has on the left-hand side. Let me just have a quick look at that, make sure I'm not telling fibs. No, I don't think it is, actually. I'll take that back. James Pearce already up into second place. Capitalising in everything he got on the rest of the field so far. James Nunn there. We're a little wide, bringing Blake Scott into play. Is Blake got anything for him? They're side by side down the hanger straight. Let's see what these pair can do. Blake Scott and James Nunn. And Blake, I think, does the sensible thing, lets him have it, but that brings Kyle Smith right up to contact. Brent Bravada's around. The brakes gets Costa involved in it as well. Oh dear.
Wow.
There, we got to replay that on the screen. We can see here as they come down the hanger straight. Brent Bravada, Kyle Smith behind him. So Kyle's catching in that BMW, constantly catching the whole time. Goes to the inside. And they get to the apex of Stowe. Clips him there, turns him around. And collects James Costa. I think that's broke James Costa's steering. Car was not the same after that. Now we can see it there. It's crabbing. It's broken. Park it. It's done.
Yep. So while we were paying attention to all of that, James Pearce has managed to get around Eric Kalaga, and I do believe that is the
lead of Adam.
That is the lead.
Oh, he has a moment though. I've just got on board with him. He has a right moment as he comes out of. He's going into Woodcut corner, so he has an absolutely sideways, and more sideways stuff.
That's just typical.
Standard. Yeah. Let's get back on this profile. Let's get back on this profile and see what's going on here. Sean Campbell has managed to get around Derek McManus. He's now going to be chasing down Jeff Applegreen. Matt Miller all over the back of Derek McManus. James Armstrong all over the back of Matt Miller. Kevin Brooks still a fairly sizable gap. Taylor Lane.
James Armstrong sending it down into Stowe. Got to the inside of Mac Miller, side by side here into Stowe. Not quite clear on the exit. He squeezes him out. Yeah, Mac was not happy. Tried to send it in deep and just couldn't quite get there. Locked the brakes up just to keep from getting out of the back of James Armstrong there.
Indeed, and this pro field is looking to become quite a spicy one. Let's see what happens here.
So last lap from Jeff Applegren, a 156.005. Last lap from Sean Campbell, a 155.984. So there's not much between these two. Those are your first and second in pro overall right now.
Oh, indeed. As these guys come down into the old section here. This is what was always the last. This was the place I've seen some moves. Right under a club. I'm getting it all wrong. I don't even know where I am. It's half 2 in the morning and I'm my head on coffee right now. It's going really well. James Armstrong on the back of Derek McManus. I don't know if Kevin Brooks has really. Oh, he has. I take everything back. I'm just clicked on his car and he's right at the back. Last time I checked, he was quite a way off, but he's got himself back up there.
Yeah, he's reeling them back in. He's definitely got some work to do though. You know he's got to be angry from what happened there with James Armstrong to put him behind in the first place. Taylor Lane just disconnected.
Yeah, Taylor's had enough. He said he got 2.5 seconds slowdown. It cost him 10 seconds, and he didn't really feel that he had the pace. I disagree. I think he would have had the pace. I think he would have, you give it some time, he might have got up there and had a go.
Oh, Taylor.
Oh, James Armstrong clobbers the sausage curb there, gives him damage on the right front of his car, allows Derek McManus to get all over the back of him, and then there's Matt Miller behind him, so we've got a 3-way sort of train here.
Oh, well, you got a 4-car train here now because Kevin Brooks is right on the back of Mac Miller.
Very much is.
So 4 cars under a blanket here. Oh, Kevin Brooks had to lock it up to keep it out of the back of Mac Miller.
He did. He had to grab a break there. All while this is going on, it's allowing the 2 cars ahead of Sean Campbell and Jeff Applegreen to just pull away. Now, how much has that damage on the right front cost James Armstrong? We'll see. Derek McManus nearly into the back of James Armstrong. That's to take avoiding that.
Around the outside.
Not going to do it there.
2, 3, no.
Not going to do it there. Well, he's got
to run on the outside though.
Yeah, he did. I think Derek got a little bit out of shape just coming off the corner. Side by side.
And all this is doing is helping. That's punching a huge hole in the air for Kevin Brooks.
Very much is. They're still side by side as Derek tries to push him out a little bit there. Gets the elbows out. Mac really creeps up on the back. Now gets the Beckett's right under Derek's car, a bit of understeer, you can see it there. Max was a little bit more planted as they come onto the straight now. Kevin all over the back. Kevin's going to be looking for a move as they come into Stones on the hanger straight. He juts out of the slipstream to the left. He's got a slipstream from Derek. He's going to brake. He actually gets out broken by Matt. Tries to do a cutback, can't get it done. Has to sit behind him here unless he can get a run down into the left-hander. No.
Yep, brilliant job by Mac there back in Stowe to block off that line to prevent that over-under from Kevin Brooks there.
Very
brilliant
much so.
piece of defensive driving there.
But let's have a look because we've got something happening here for first and second. Sean is 0.3 of a second as they cross the line away from Jeff Applegreen. Jeff in the Porsche, Sean in the BMW. Let's see what happens as they go on to the the Wellington straight here. Have they got anything for each other? Now the BMW is catching in the slipstream, but it's that corner entry of the Porsche that manages to just get the nose settled. Sean still creeping on the back. Jeff runs slightly wide. The door's open. Sean has a look. Doesn't do anything with it though. Again, BMW gets the power down slightly better. He's going to be in the slipstream. Jeff is going to make that BMW incredibly wide for another 17 minutes and 20 seconds. Whether he can do it or not is a different story. Cop's corner. Jeff's car squirming under the brakes. He gets settled for the exit. Handsome looking skit. I always say this, but it's a very handsome looking livery he's got of that car.
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely one of the more recognizable cars.
As they go, hanger straight now. Sean looks to the inside, can't get anything done, goes to the left. And they're going to be side by side here into Stowe. They are still side by side to get to corner exit. Jeff's got to have a good run here, or else Sean's going to have the inside line. Sean does have the inside line. This could be job done for Sean for the lead. Jeff breaks slightly later into the left hand. They're still side by side. Jeff comes back. Handsome move by Jeff. Really good defensive driving there to get that place back. And Sean again right up on the back of the rear diffuser. That that was close.
All right, boys.
Yeah, it's getting
clean.
It's getting twitchy. Turn 1 of Abbey. Braking zone here into this complex. The arena section of the new track. This is the new layout. I say new layout. For me, it's new layout. It's been this layout for like 4 or 5 years, but it's still the new layout. I don't know. I just always see it as the new layout. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, same here. I still consider it to be, the new layout. Power move. Sean Campbell trying to go around the outside again.
It does, but he's got the inside here. And they've cut him off. No, Jeff. He kind of outbroke himself a little bit there. Didn't do any favours. Gets the power down.
Actually, that BMW though has the power. Yeah, he's still there.
These two are side by side. It's helping everybody out behind him.
I think this is going to be it right here.
Is it?
Jeff
no,
sends it.
Still side by side. This is some of the best racing we've seen all season. Jeff Applegreen and Sean Campbell coming onto the runner. They cannot go too wide through here. Surely not. One of them's got to yield.
Oh, boy.
Jeff round the outside. Breaks a little bit later. Carries a little bit more speed through. Got to get a good run out of here. Else Sean's just going to get right back to him as they hit the hanger straight. Sean Campbell all over the back of Jeff Applegreen. Pulls out from the slipstream. He's probably got this.
Side again. Here we go.
Jeff's got to brake later. Does he brake later? He does brake later. He runs wide. There's contact between the two.
This is amazing. Oh, my Lord.
Close stuff. On the edge, Jeff closes right up on the back of Sean. He did not want to let him get around him. I can't blame him because, unfortunately, I have a feeling that BMW is going to have just so much grunt out of the corners. It could drive off. Let's see. As they cross the line for another lap, there is 14 minutes left on the clock.
Yep, and I have a feeling that's why Jeff was fighting so hard to keep that BMW behind him, is because he knew.
Oh, he breaks late. He's on the grass. He's lost it. That's it. He's got to get it back on track. But this is going to play into... That's James Armstrong. Derek McManus is around him. He's... one mistake. That was it. One mistake. He just grabbed the brake.
Right there.
Yep, 2 spots. He's got to get some work done here. He's got Matt Miller looking behind him. Let's get a replay of that on screen as they come into the arena section of the track. And he just breaks that a little bit later, and he wants to avoid. He doesn't want to hit the back of Sean, puts the car on the grass, and unfortunately, passenger at that point, and then comes back on fairly nicely. So we'll go for an onboard here. We go into turn 1, and then just into the braking zone here. Just grabs the brake slightly later, and you can see him turn out of where he should have been. It's a right-handed bend, and he turns left to avoid smacking into the back of Sean. It's good sportsmanship, Jeff. Well done, but it's not done you any favours in regards to his position on track. And now he's got Matt Miller crawling all over the back of him. Again, Jeff has another... Wow. I think he's got a bit of damage to the back end of his car. He has that left-hand tail light. He's just sticking up slightly higher. And again, fighting the understeer through the last section there. Allowing Mac to get a run. Is he going to get a run down onto the hanger straight?
Tell you what, we're shaping up to have another dogfight here between James Armstrong and Sean Campbell, though.
Yeah, these two are all over the back of each other again. Well, they will be in the next couple of laps. Pair of BMWs, followed by a trio of Porsches, followed by the sole Corvette of Kevin Brooks, who's just not having a good day out there.
Yep, I think he's had the pace. He just circumstances, especially in this race here, just have not played in his favor.
Yeah, you're right, but these 4, I'd say, from Sean Campbell down to Jeff Applegreen, have closed up on all over the back of each other. Jeff really was the guy who came out worse out of that situation, unfortunately. But he did the right thing, because if he'd have ploughed into the back found his back of Sean, he probably would have got a penalty. It probably would have been worse for his race outcome. So he did the right thing. There we go, Woodcock corner. Let's just take a quick look through the Anfield. Let's see what's going on with that. James Pearce running away with it once again. Blake's got comfortable second. Eric Calaga comfortable third. James Dunn comfortable fourth. Mark Scott closing in on James Dunn a little bit there. We've got Brent Bravado with a heavily damaged Porsche and Carl Smith. Errol Yuriksoy gets the car back out after massive contact. But the two cars which are not going anywhere is Michael Calaga, who I believe is your point standing leader so far, and James Costa. Both of those guys in the pits with, well, I'd say on Michael's car that's irreparable damage. That car is beyond smashed up, and I'd say James Costa's steering is all beyond repair as well. Get into what is nearly sunset here around Silverstone.
Yep, and we've got 3 cars under a blanket fighting for the lead. Sean Campbell, James Armstrong, and Derek Ekmanis, still sitting back there in third. He's looking strong, though.
Derek is looking very good. He's got all the draft off of those big chunky BMWs ahead of him. Jeff, I wouldn't rule Jeff out just yet. I think once these pairs start fighting, and they will, I don't think James is going to want to just sit behind Sean in this race.
No.
And Derek will certainly not want to sit behind either of them, and Jeff will certainly not want to sit behind any of those guys either. So, let's see. Unfortunately, Dan Tenorio's put in the chat that his pedals have given up the ghost, which is a shame. So,
those are brand new pedals for him. They can't have.
Yeah, well, he's having problems with them. I'm sure we'll grab him after and find out what's going on. But Derek
He
Ekmanis
hasn't even had those, I think, for like 8 months.
Well, he had them, I want to say it was mid-Ohio when he first got them.
Yeah.
Or it was around that time of season 1. So, it weren't even that. It would be 3 or 4 months away.
Wow, I don't know, that's shocking.
Shame. But let's get back with this pro battle here. Sean.
Bit of a gap now between second and third, James Armstrong and Derek Ekmanis. But Jeff Applegren closing in on the back of Derek Ekmanis here.
Got a cracking run there out of the final corner before the hanger straight. Now, he's on the back of Derek Ekmanis. I don't think he's probably going to get enough of a run to him. Going to be an extremely late braking move if he wants to get it done. Derek kind of cuts the line off, compromises his exit. This could play into Jeff's hands as they come out of the Stoke corner into the braking zone. All closing up to each other again in the braking zone. Jeff takes a nice line through there. He's going to get a good exit out of here if he can just string it together. Runs slightly wide. Matt Miller's not a million miles away. Kevin Brooks is just, I think Kevin's just settling for 5th and bring it home job. These guys up here fighting, doing the best. Derek Ekmanis slightly wide. James Armstrong slightly wide. Sean, very good exit on that corner. You can see he's got, well, I don't know about the other guys, but I know Sean plays with VR, and that is one place there where he can see that apex of that corner probably better than others can.
Absolutely. It's night and day difference between using monitored VR, because the VR, 1, it gives you a true 3D image, and then 2, you actually get good depth perception, and also you're able to look through the corner rather than, I feel like I'm always searching for it when I'm using a monitor.
Yeah.
So it is an advantage, I feel, but some guys just don't like it.
I had it for a period of time. I personally couldn't get on with it, but I know plenty of people who do, like yourself, that do get on with it very well. Jeff Applegren right on the back of Derek Ekmanis, fix it into the right-hander. Into the left-hander, he's taking a wider line there. Gets the car stopped for the apex of that last right-hander as they come through into Chapel. Onto the hanger straight once again. Slipstream's going to play into effect. No one's close enough to anybody just yet to do anything. Matt Miller's dropping away from this pack ever so slightly. No fuel saving going on here. They are flat on the throttle right up until the braking point. Derek Ekmanis, good corner entry there. Catches the back of James Armstrong. Hard on the brakes once again.
Yeah, it's like we've been saying, you know, all night. The Porsche, it's got that corner entry. Just unfortunately, you need to have it on corner exit to make
But
it happen.
here's the thing. This is a cooler track now, and I think this is playing into the Porsche's hands a little bit more. I'm seeing more pace off of these Porsches. I'm seeing them get into the back of the BMWs and keeping it on the back of the BMWs. They're not pulling away like they were in race 2. A little bit of a block up there from Derek McManus. Jeff Applegren close up on the back of him. He looks to the inside. He's not going to get anything through here. He has to slam the brakes on, smacking another corner because he's going to run into the back of him again. Just pick your move, Jeff. Plan it out. Don't get greedy. When you get greedy and you start doing something like that, that's when it goes wrong. You compromise yourself too heavily. You've got to play up to it a little bit. Great races so far. Derek McManus massive
Derek, way wide.
Well, you see, this is what I was saying. Pick your moment. That was the perfect moment because it was just handed to him on a plate there. Jeff back up into third. James still second. Sean still first. BMW trio of Porsches, and then Kevin Brooks just out there, Sunday drive, probably got a cup of tea on the go.
And even though now Jeff is quite a bit off the back of the top 2 here, I think he's actually in a pretty good spot because these guys are going to get to fighting, and that's like what happened in race 1. That's going to pull him right to the back of him. He's not far off there. I want to say I think these BMWs are starting to fall off. I think you're right.
I just don't think they suit these. Well, I think they probably suited the hotter conditions slightly better. But we'll see. I mean, you know, we've got 5 minutes left in the race. That's going to be what, 2 or 3 laps. And let's see if Jeff can get to the back of these guys. And if he can, what can he do with it? Matt Miller using all the track there. Got to watch the incident points. You're only allowed, I think, 15 is what the incident limit is on these 30-minute races. Derek McManus wants to get some spots back after his mistake. That big lockup cost him a massive amount of time, and that was into what was the old section there, Brooklands and Lovefield section, and he just grabbed a brake too much, cost him a stack of time. James dropping off the back of Sean, playing into Jeff's hands because he's crawling up over the back of all of them. Jeff with a lockup this time, locking at the right front. That's going to make it horrifically understeery in this left-hander. You can see it does. You cannot get the car stopped, and that brings Matt Miller up to the back of Jeff. So again, once you have that lock up there, you tend to lock the unloaded tyre up, I think, on that corner more than anything. And once you do, when you then get into the left-hander, it's just understeer, because you can't, the tyre's overheated. So you just cannot get the rotation right from the right front tyre. Doesn't like it at all. James Armstrong nearly clipping the gravel on the exit into Woodcut. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth all pretty much together. Kevin's dropped off the back, as we said.
Guys all running pretty equal times for the top 3 here. Last time by, excuse me. For the leader, 156.49. James Armstrong, a 156.50. Jeff Applegren had the fastest lap of the top 3 last time by at a 156.33. Again, these guys, really nothing between them, especially the top 2.
Oh, don't rule Jeff out. He just took a tenth and a bit out of the leader down there because the gap between Sean and James is just a little bit too much. That James probably isn't getting enough draft, but then Jeff was, because he was right up on the back of James. That just brings him into play a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm seeing James's BMW kind of moving around a little bit more in the corners, kind of sliding around, and that's definitely not going to help him.
It's not going to help him. He's going to cut the tyres, going to make him overheat, and then he's not going to be able to get any grip at all. Jeff runs wide. Dirty air off the back of that BMW really affects him, I think, there. Here we go, right-hand arena section. Jeff, you've got to keep the car on the right hand, get a cut back. Is he going to dive? He does. He dives to the inside. Is he going to get the job done on James Armstrong? Corner exit. BMW gets the power down a bit better. Left-hander here, though. Oh, my, that is close as James takes the racing line through the left-hander. Jeff wants it, though. Does he do anything here? James covers off the line, drives defensively. Jeff going to go to the outside. It's a bold move to go to the outside, but if you can keep it there, he's going to have the inside for the next corner. Doesn't get it done. Potential cut back here.
No, not close enough to get it done. And that BMW is going to pull away on the straight here.
Is indeed. Sean has a bit of a rough exit out of the last corner there. He's dropping back into James's hands. Jeff using all the track again. Okay, so we're going to have, I believe, this is going to be your white flag. This isn't your white flag. I think the next time by will be white flag. Jeff uses more curb on all of this. Gets a really good run through there, and he's all over the back of James. If he can get his exit straight here, he's going to have a shot. He has. He's got the exit good. Let's see what happens on the hanger straight. Is he got enough on that BMW? The BMW is pulling away because James has got the draft off of Sean. Hard on the brakes. The lock up there. You see a puff of smoke coming out the front of Jeff's car.
And you could see him fighting that aero push all through Stowe.
Matt Miller has dropped behind Kevin Brooks. Something's happened to Matt Miller. But let's stay with these for now. I believe this is going to be your white flag lap. So this is your white flag lap, I believe, as they come through the right-hander into the left-hander. What's Jeff going to do? This is where he's strong. This is where he moved, where he put the move on. He locks up the brakes again. Roll the brakes.
Oh, no.
He's done. He's really trying. He wants it. You can't blame him. Really trying to get something done here. He's not. He's got 2/3 of a lap left to go. Can he do anything? Can James do anything on Sean? Can it be BMW? A reverse of the two BMWs at the front. Let's on the brakes. Left-hander.
Massive send by James Armstrong into that corner there.
He just tried, and he was having a real good go at that. Out of left field into Woodcut. I think these guys, it's going to need something to go a little bit wrong to bring them up to each other, but let's see. Both BMWs late on the apex. Jeff using all the track again into Maggots and Beckett's. Now this is where the Porsche is good. If he gets a good Maggots and Beckett's, never say never, might be able to get something out of this race other than a P3. Let's see. He does. He closes up, constantly closing through there. Great run. Don't clip the grass on the exit. That's a slowdown. Has a really good run out of there. Brings the gap down. What can he do here? I don't think he's going to have anything for him because James has got the draft on Sean. Let's see if any last lap, last corner, last lap can happen.
No, Jeff's just not close enough. He needs to be about 2 or 3 car lengths closer. Makes up a ton of ground on the entrance here, but just not close enough.
Not close enough. Another lap, maybe. But that was it, I believe. We've got Sean Campbell is your race 2 winner. James Armstrong in second. Jeff Applegreen rounds out your top 3. Derek McManus 4th. And Kevin Brooks 5th. Something happened to Matt Miller doing that. And I'm going to have a little nosy through and see if I can find it. Good racing from these top guys here for today. This is absolutely fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. James Pearce grabs an AM win again. Super work from James. Mark Blake Scott going to be happy with P2. Eric Kalaga is your final man in the top 3. Mark Scott, Brent Pravada come across the line to round out your top 5 in AM. You can see standings on the screen. As we said, Sean Campbell, James Armstrong, Jeff Applegreen, Derek McManus, Kevin Brooks and Matt Miller are your running pros. And then in AM, James Pearce gets the job done. P2 for Blake Scott, Eric Kalaga, Mark Scott, Brent Bravada, Kyle Smith, Errol Uruksoy, James Nunn finishes in 14th, and then 15th was the best of the non-finishers. James Costa, Taylor Lane, Tom Fisher, Eric Kalaga, and Dan Tenorio rounds out your field. I have seen some great races at Silverstone. Has not failed to impress. Never does. One of my favourite tracks on all the calendars in iRacing. I know it gets a lot of stick. There's a couple of guys in my team that don't particularly like it, but you know what? Sodom, I do. And I think it makes for some fantastic racing, and I think it proved that tonight.
Absolutely. I think this is probably the best race, the best 2 races that we've seen all season.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the best racing that we've seen, I think, in this series, period. So,
I agree.
Hey, great show tonight. I think that pretty much sums it up.
No, very much so. That Silverstone, always, I just soft spot for it. And you know what? I like tracks that make good racing. Might not be, like I said, the most intricate of tracks or whatever. But again, you can't beat a track that promotes good racing, and Silverstone does that. And I think from everybody here, that's got to be all about it. We've seen some great racing. I'll say again, and Pro is shaping up to be quite something this season. And Rob, I think it's time to say goodnight.
It is indeed. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. Like, favorite, and subscribe to the video. Consider supporting us through the memberships. Shout out to Track Institute for allowing us to use the cameras. Follow us on Facebook, Patreon. Oh, we don't have a Patreon. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And consider joining the RSR Discords. Do it. Do it now. But until next week, which is at what?
Oh, you do this, and you do it for fun. That's what gets me, because I'm so ill prepared for everything. Give me 4 seconds. All right, make it slightly longer. I will tell you where we're at next week.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I may have slightly over exaggerated myself. I've got it. I'm on the spreadsheet. I've got it. Scroll in. You can hear the angry scrolling happening. That's the wrong one. I don't know. Somewhere good and interesting.
We're at
somewhere good. I just pulled up season 1 rules. I want to say
Road America is Kevin Brooks' answer.
Thank you. Road America. Road America's going to be good. That's always a good track, because again, I'd say it's similar
Kevin
to
Brooks for the save.
Thank you, Kevin. I think Road America is going to be just as good as it was here. A little bit more narrow, maybe a couple more single file sort of corners, but still plenty of overtaking opportunities. So we'll have a good race there, I'm sure.
And until then, take care, guys. Have a good and awesome evening, and we'll see you next week at Road America.